So what we're going to do in this video is essentially create the windows and the door and start on maybe the ground if there's time. All right, so let's go back over here to Tools, ProBuilder window here. And what we're going to do is essentially create a glass material. So for that, what we want to do is open up our material editor here. And you can see here that we have these empty slots. So inside of art here, I'm going to make another folder, and I'm just going to call this folder materials. And this is going to be used to store random materials that we use over and over again for glass. So for instance, glass. So let's go to create here, and then we're going to go to material here, and I'm going to name this glass. And we could just leave it as material. I normally just do MTRL like I have here, but right now I'm going to drag it here, and then I'm going to go in here, I'm going to select these faces that are going to be the windows, and I'm just going to apply this glass material. Now it doesn't look like glass yet, we just have some shadowing, but what we're going to do in here now is we're going to tweak this. So for my base map or my base color here, I'm going to go with maybe a lighter blue, maybe darker blue, adds more of a tint. And then we have things called smoothness. So look what happens when I move this all the way to the right. You could see that my glass gets more specular. If I increase my metallic and I take my smoothness down, you can see we get more of this matted look. And let me actually select my light. Here's my lighting here. And I'm going to select my direction light here. And I'm actually going to go to Game Object, Move to View, just so I can have it here. And let's go ahead and select our Move tool. And let's see, selection wire. Oh, let's go back to object mode, sorry. And let's move this, let's select that light one more time, directional light. And one more time, move to view. I'm gonna start using Control Alt F just so that it's always in our view. And I'm gonna hit E and just kind of rotate this so we're looking right directly at those windows like that. Maybe a little bit less like this, okay. So let's go back to our material here. Now notice what happens if I take both of these and I kind of move them towards the middle. It looks more like metal and you are getting more of that metallic or shininess. Now with glass, what you generally want to do is you want to have transparency on. And what you can do now is with that transparency on, there's an alpha mode. And we could adjust this with a texture, for instance, where we kind of can make it more or less transparent. We could also click on this base material here and I can bring it down. And now you can see I can see through my house all the way clear to the back. So what I generally do in these situations is I'll either just drop a plane back there, and within that plane I'll have an image of an inside of like a living room or something. So we can just do that really quickly. We can go to Game Object, 3D Object, and then Game Object, 3D Object, and then just select the plane. And then you could see on the X-axis I can just rotate this 90 degrees. And if I place this, we want to do minus 90. That way we have the shaded side. Now you can see that it blocked off. See how we're not able to see? So I'm going to hit R and just kind of bring this down. Now I don't have that image right now. And we could always do a tweaking setting, but just enough to control it so that it's blocking that area. And now we can see inside, it gives us some depth. Something else we can do is inside of here is just give make our windows a little more interesting. So with ProBuilder open here, I'm going to close this out. I'm just going to go to new shape and I'm just going to make a cube, like a thin little cube like this. Bring it up and hit W and just kind of place that to create, you know, those little poles, like kind of that cross beam. So I'm going to hit Control D again. I'm going to rotate this on Z. Let's actually, because see how my pivot point is at the bottom, let's center the pivot and let's make this 90 degrees. And now I have those cross beams. And I could make this window a little bit fancier by hitting R and making them thinner, bringing it down, hitting Control D. Now what I'm going to do is select all three of these pieces and I'm just going to merge those objects, hit Control D, and just move them into place like this. Now we have a little bit more of an interesting house and interesting windows. Now for the door, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go to Google and just type in door textures. All right, so here we are in Google. I just typed in door texture. You can see here's iStock. It has 9 textures. I just, to be honest with you, go to images and I just try to find a door that I like. So this door is pretty cool. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to save image as and just save it to my desktop. Now I saved that door to the desktop And to kind of save you also from seeing my desktop with all of the files, all I'm going to do is right click in here. Actually, I'm going to go into the materials folder. I'm going to create another folder and just call it door, or I could call it assets, for example. And then within this assets folder, well, we already have this bigger assets folder. We can name this objects, probably better term. And then within this, we have a door folder. And within this, we're going to create a material. And we're just going to call this door material. And I know the other one, I left it as MTRL. I'll just do door material like that. I'm going to right click and create. I'm going to right click, import new assets. And this is where I'm going to pause it so that I spare you seeing the files on my desktop. But all I'm doing is clicking this, locating the file, and then hitting OK. All right, so here's my door entry door. And you can see here it's kind of a little squished. If we change it to Sprite 2D UI and we hit apply, you can see it fits to the actual shape of the texture. We do have some white trim around this that we're going to have to cut out with our UV editor. But with our material editor open, let's go back to ProBuilder and let's go to material editor here. I'm going to just grab my door material and drop it here. And then under door material here, you can see that I never put in base map that entry door. And what I'm going to do is select this door. Let's see if I can go to face mode. And I'm just going to apply this door material. Now you can see you're like, wait, where did the door material go? Now the issue with this is we need to do that unwrapping process that we did before to get this to fit. So with that face selected, I'm going to open up my UV editor and I'm going to hit W on this. So you can see now that it's all the way outside of here and it's not on top of where that material is. So what you can do is just hit planar. It'll move it into where you need it to be. And now I could just hit R and I could start to shape this so that it matches the door shape. So I'm going to line up that corner there. And then I'm going to grab these two here and just move them up so they match the bottom of the door like that. Now it looks like the texture disappeared, and the reason for that is because we only have that material on this face. So without that face selected, it defaults to the default material. See that? So you're going to have to kind of use this view here to do something like this. All right, so now we have a door, we have windows, we have all that stuff. And trying to think, we're at 7 minutes. I want to go ahead and just sort of do a little bit of, you know what, that really should be another video where we create the ground plane. But yeah, we've got some windows. You can see we've got some pretty good depth going on there. Make sure to save your scene. And yeah, it's coming along. It's starting to look more realistic. It's starting to look good. And in the next lesson, we'll go ahead and start looking at how we can create a beautiful landscape to place our house and 3 buildings in.